comes out to Tom James. Good shot! Oh, my goal! What a goal for Tom James! Oh, that was special!
Good afternoon to you, O's fans. Welcome to Orient Live's coverage of Leyton Orient's trip to Exeter City this afternoon in Sky Bet League One. I'm Ali Maxwell, just filling in for the next 2 Saturdays, replacing your regular host Ollie Buck, who's away. Thank you for letting me into the world of the O's. Delighted to be joined by 2 Orient legends, you have to say. First, Orient Live guest Joe Widdowson, regular guest I should say. Joe, you're basically the captain today, the most experienced member of the studio. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, just trying not to melt in this heat. But all good.
I didn't realise we were allowed to wear shorts.
Listen, we're casual here, man. We're relaxed. Got to be comfortable.
I've made a howler of a decision already. We've also got a new signing, someone very familiar to this part of East London. Welcome, Mr. Kevin Lisbie.
Thank you for having me.
It's really, really good to have you both. Kevin, first, this place must bring back some happy memories for you.
Yeah, just as you say, when you park your car up and you're walking around, because apparently I'm not allowed to walk across the pitch anymore. So just walking around, bring back so much good memories of my time at this club. And yeah, it's good to be back and hopefully be a part of the club doing well this season.
Absolutely. There's an awful lot of love for you amongst the O's fans. The club tweeted yesterday asking for their best memories of Kevin Lisbie in an Orient shirt. Sean brought up the game down to 10 men against Sheffield United. Lisbie scores in the 6th minute of injury time to grab us a point. Paul's gone. Has to be the goal against Port Vale at home to win us the game 3-2. Are those right up there for you as well?
Yeah, definitely. The Sheffield United one, as I said, we were down to 10 men. 96th minute, I don't think I should be on the field, to be fair, at 35 years old, but that was a really good goal. Sheffield United got promoted that year and we were struggling for points, so that was a really important goal, and that was definitely up there. And I spoke to you earlier about the Port Vale one. I think we was on a winning run. I think it was 9 games in a row, and I think we needed to win that game to obviously to equal the record or break the record, and I scored right at the end. But the emotions on that day as well were definitely up there for me.
And you still keep an eye out for the O's results?
Of course I do. The first thing I do, after I watch my boy play, the first thing I do at 5 o'clock, 4:45, is see what how Orient got on, and obviously being back in League One, so pay a little bit more attention as well.
Big game today, Exeter, obviously top of the league. It's such early days. Joe, you were here last week for the Stevenage game. O's started well in that game, but ended up on the wrong side of a 3-0 defeat. What are your main takeaways, with a week to sit and think about that one?
I think last week, to be honest, there wasn't too many positives to take from the game. I think the week before that, Cambridge at home, the performance was really positive. Comfortable win. Cambridge were top of the league at the time, and to be honest, they came here and Orient just blew them away. Really positive from the outset. Played some really good football. An important clean sheet that day, and scored a couple of goals. Created a hatful of chances as well, and then they just couldn't find that form again. I think there was a lot of optimism going into the Stevenage game last week on the back of the Cambridge performance. But to be honest, Stevenage were impressive. I thought that they came and they set up. They were strong. They were energetic. Had a lot of energy. Pressed Orient, from the start, and really kind of imposed their game better than Orient on the day. And yeah, it was just it was a tough day last week. But we're a week down the line, and I'm sure Richie's had the boys working hard on the training pitch, trying to address the things that went wrong last week. So I'm expecting a positive performance today.
Yeah, it was the manager Richie Wellens that very much came out straight away, took responsibility for what he, in hindsight, considered to be the wrong team use, staying with the same team from the Cambridge game, and he was very open and honest about that. So back in league action, having been defeated at Gillingham in midweek in the Papa John's Trophy, and down in Devon against top of the table Exeter. Now, of course, Orient beat Cambridge when they were top of the league a couple of weeks ago, so it could be some good motivation for today. Before we get into Orient's team news, just a reminder to all fans that we can live stream today's game in the UK and worldwide. So generally, if you're in the UK, you can't watch these the matches live anyway once the games kick off. But because it's the international break, the rules and regulations are different on that front. If you're in the UK but haven't made it down to Exeter, why don't you buy your streaming pass now to watch the full match live? Loads to get through ahead of kick-off, so let's get started by hearing from assistant head coach Paul Terry, who we caught up with earlier this week.
PT, a couple of days on from Gillingham, another game to come and another away trip. We head to Exeter. What are we expecting from them?
Yeah, listen, they've had a really good start to the season. They're up there and doing really well at the minute, but we're going to have a game plan going into it, and if we can execute that, we feel we can be successful.
As we're doing the interview on Wednesday morning, have you had a chance to look at them?
We've had a little time to look at them, yeah. We've got in earlier this morning, had a little look at them, worked on a few bits today, so work on a few more bits Friday, ready for the game on Saturday.
And they're obviously flying high, as you say. What do you see as their main threats and what you've seen?
I think they're just consistent in everything they do. They put balls in the channel, they compete, they scrap, and when they need to tidy the game up, they can play as well. You don't start the season like they have been an average team. They're a good side, they've got good experience in the team, and they're up there for a reason, but it's down to us to work out a way to combat that.
I think Gillingham was our second midweek game of the season. The games are obviously starting to come thick and fast. Now, when you are playing midweek Saturday, how much does that affect your preparation for games?
Yeah, it's not too bad. What affects you is the time you had on at the end of the games. You know what I mean? We're down to 9 men last night, and there's 9 minutes added on at the end, and that takes a toll on the players. So, but listen, we've got all the protocols in place to recover, and so we're ready to go again. The lads recovered well today. The lads that didn't play have trained a little bit harder today, and then we go again on Friday, ready for the game Saturday.
There is more stoppage time, as you say. Is preparation maybe different now to what it was even last year because of those extra?
No, not really. I mean, because we can't plan for how much stoppage time they're adding on. You know what I mean? You just never know. 1 minute it's 2. One week they had 2 minutes on. The next week they had 9 or 10. I just don't know where they get their numbers from. But listen, it is what it is, and we can't keep complaining about things. We've just got to get on with it and deal with it, really.
And just on Gillingham, but obviously it ended in defeat, but for the first 60 minutes or so, there were a lot of positives for us to take.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of positives, a lot of positive performances, individually and collectively. So I think there was a lot to come out of the game. Listen, when you have 2 men sent off in quick succession, it does take its toll and has an effect on how the game pans out, and I think that showed. But for the first 60 minutes, I think we can be really pleased with what we see and what we got out of the lads.
And how encouraged were you and the rest of the coaching team with those? It was 8 changes, wasn't it? Those that came into the team.
Yeah, but that's what it's about. We've got a squad. We've built a squad, and now we've got them back from injury. Now everyone's ready to compete for a starting 11 shirt. So that's what we wanted, and that's what we've managed to build. Now, I say they're back from injury, so we've got competitiveness all over the pitch now.
And just lastly, Exeter's not as local as Gillingham. It's a long old way away, isn't it? Just a message for the fans who are making the trip down there.
Yeah, no, listen, I think the fans have been great again. I mean, I know even at Gillingham, they still made a lot of noise and nearly outnumbered the Gillingham fans. I think, they've been class all season for us, and we just need it again. Just keep spurring the lads on, keep getting behind them. We're nearly where we want to be, do you know what I mean? But we need that extra support from them, so keep going.
Really good to hear from Paul Terry there, talking about a couple of things, including preparations for this afternoon's game. Richie Wellens, of course, serving the second game of his 2-match suspension. So it will be Paul in the dugout leading Orient today. And let's see the team that will take to the field. Let's take a look at Leyton Orient's starting 11, because there have been a few changes. And I think in terms of the tactics as well, there's a few questions before the game kicks off. We're looking forward to seeing how the team line up in and out of possession. Just to run through the team, Sol Bryn is in goal, the number 1, and then James Piggott is playing Sotirio as well, Theo Archibald, of course. Brandon Cooper comes in to make his first league start for the O's. George Moncur is starting as well as Idris El Mazouni. Darren Pratley wears the armband. Omar Beckles is starting at the back, and Jordan Graham as well. It's an interesting starting 11, Joe, that Richie and Paul have gone with here, and I sort of think looking from outside, you're always trying to work out what the formation might be. I think there's a few different options here, because clearly we've got 3 natural centre-backs in the team, in Beckles and in Cooper. Sorry, 2 natural centre-backs, I should say. And with Theo Archibald being so versatile, I guess he could either be at left back in a back 4, he could be right wing back. There's a lot of versatility in the team.
Yeah, there is. It's just looking at it there, not necessarily obvious. How Richie Wellens or Paul Terry is looking to set up today. So see Dan Happy's missing. I imagine that's injury related, but I think the 2 kind of notable changes there are Omar Beckles and Darren Pratley back in. Both started on the bench last weekend, and I think their experience, their presence. I know they're big characters and big voices in the dressing room, and I think they'll help to give that added experience out there today, and make Orient look a little bit more solid. I think going away from home to team top of the league, that will be important.
In terms of the players that will be looking to make a difference at the top end of the pitch, and we'll talk about the goal getters, Sotirio and Pigott, in just a second, but in Archibald, in Moncur, who comes in for this one, and in Jordan Graham, you have got a different profile of attacking players who, in theory, can create a lot of chances for the strikers and chip in with goals as well. Yeah,
definitely. There is, definitely they all offer different attributes. Theo, probably who's featured most out of the 3 of them this season. Typical wide man. Likes to beat his man, likes to deliver crosses. Jordan Graham, I think as well, looks like a good player from what I've seen. He's taken a few weeks to get up to fitness, but he's got good pedigree, having played in this division and the Championship as well last season. So another good footballer, good ability, and I think it's a big game for George Moncur actually. He's a player that I like. Easy on the eye, but sometimes he can flatter to deceive a little bit and go missing, but on his day he's a really good player. He's popped up with some important goals in the past, and I think it's an opportunity for him to really kind of get his season up and running and establish himself in the team, and hopefully put in a good performance today. He's certainly a guy with a lot of ability, and he's just one that you're always looking at, and you kind of just you want to see it a little bit more from him.
And up top, Kevin, we've got Joe Pigott, fans desperate to see Pigott start scoring goals in an Orient shirt. Rule Sotirio has a couple already this season, but just looking back at that game against Stevenage, hit the bar with a big chance at 0-0. So both of those guys, the team relying on them for goals. What's it like as a striker when you know that the pressure is on you to score? How do you deal with that mentally to make sure when the chances come, you're composed rather than snatching at them?
Yeah, for me, I think it's about patience. I think a lot of the time, as a striker, when you start the season, you want to get an early goal. You want to get on the score sheet, and you want to contribute to winning games. But it doesn't always work that way. So I think sometimes you've got to be patient. You've got to stay on the training ground. You've got to keep practicing. You've got to keep doing the right things and being consistent and keeping your standards high. And the most important thing for me is getting in those areas where you can score goals. I think a lot of the time we want to be on the edge of the box and we want to be bending in the top hand corner. But for me, you want to start getting a tap in. You want to get a real scruffy goal to get off the mark, and then once you're off the mark, you find you end up getting a lot of chances. So for me, getting in those goal scoring areas and making sure you're consistent in getting in the box.
Definitely a place for prime Widdowson and prime Lisbie in the team, I reckon. But that's the side that will take to the pitch down in Devon in just 15 minutes time. We'll take a look at Exeter and their starting 11 in just a second. But first, let's run through a few club updates. As mentioned a few minutes ago, today's game is available to watch both in the UK as well as worldwide. EFL rules dictate that all League One fixtures that take place on an international weekend can be live streamed in the domestic market. So if you're currently watching this stream on social media and you haven't yet bought your live streaming pass, make sure to get it now ahead of kickoff for just £10 from LeytonOrient.com. We're looking ahead now to a fortnight's time. Saturday the 23rd of September specifically, where Orient hosts Shrewsbury Town at Brisbane Road, and that's the beginning of our 3 for 2 hospitality offer, which means you can enjoy hospitality in the 1881 suite at the next 3 home games for the price of just 2 matches. For more information, please visit LeytonOrient.com or email commercial@LeytonOrient.com. And lastly, some great news. Everyone at the club would like to congratulate youngster Jeff Titanga, who was named as Welling United's Player of the Month for August last week. A brilliant start to Jeff T's loan with the Wings. They compete in the National League South. Moving on from the updates, the Leyton Orient women's team are in FA Cup action here at Brisbane Road tomorrow, and ahead of their clash against Cheshunt, we spoke to midfielder Shona Chitate Samariwa.
Shona, an FA Cup tie to come here at Brisbane Road on Sunday. How much are you and your teammates looking forward to it?
Do you know what? It's a massive occasion. We're all buzzing for it, and I mean, what a ground to play it on. So for Leyton Orient's first FA Cup game, it's going to be an occasion. Everyone's really excited, and I can't wait to go, if I'm honest.
It's the first FA Cup game since the reformation, as you say. How much extra does it give the game with it being here?
You know what? I think how far the club's come so far, I think it's a massive deal for everybody involved. And I think all of the hard work we put in last season, how we finished off the season, it's just like it's a pleasure to get the opportunity to play here and play our first FA Cup game here as well.
Promotion last season, an unbeaten league campaign as well, and a winning start to this one on Sunday against Richmond. What's the feeling amongst the squad at the moment?
We're starting as we mean to go on, and we're starting where we left off at the end of the season. I mean, we wanted to go out with all our new players as well, so we kind of gelled really quickly, which some teams might struggle with, but we seem to make it seamless. And with the weather as well, it made it a little bit difficult, but honestly, the performance was amazing, the attitude from everybody was amazing. We just can't wait to get going and finish off strong like we did last season.
It's fair to say that you and certainly the players who were here last year were itching to get going, having gone the whole of last year unbeaten.
100%. I mean, the pre-season was long, not naming any names, Danny. So playing all those games, it was just we wanted to play those games and it means something. So now we play on Sundays, it's 3 points. Do you know what I mean? So playing all those pre-season games was in preparation for the season to start, but we wanted it to be the season, to get the season going, if I'm honest.
And just lastly, Orient men's first team are away from home on Saturday, so what would it mean to you and the rest of the team for those fans who maybe would be coming here normally on a Saturday to actually come a day later on a Sunday and support the women's team?
Do you know what, the support from last season, even like on social media, that's been fantastic. So if you ain't got nothing to do on a Sunday, come watch us play. When we was here for the presentations on the pitch, that feeling, having everybody around us supporting us, was amazing. I think it spurred us on even more, so it'd be fantastic if we get all the Orient fans down here on a Sunday. 100%. Get down here.
And when you do see them in the stands, and also the support that you get from within the club, just what does that mean to you and everyone?
It shows that it's a family club, it's a community. So when you look up and you see fans that you probably wouldn't regularly come to a women's game here supporting us, it means the world. And I've been playing women's football for a long time, so getting 10, 20, 30 fans here is an amazing feeling. But if we get more than that, it's going to take it into the next level.
Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you very much.
I think we can definitely get more than that here at Brisbane Road tomorrow with the women's team in FA Cup action. So good to hear from Shona there. Clearly they are raring to go. So do get down here tomorrow. Kick-off is at 2 p.m. and entry is completely free to come and show your support. All you need to do is head to main reception at the Justin Edinburgh West Stand to gain entry. It would be great to see as many of you at Brisbane Road tomorrow, Sunday, as possible. And it's brilliant to see the club and the women's team coming back together again, clearly absolutely thriving, and it'd be so good to get the win tomorrow, wouldn't it, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously the women enjoyed great success last season, along with the men. Both teams winning their respective leagues. So it's important that we want to see women's football grow. We want to see local girls wanting to come and play for Leyton Orient. So the more people we can get to come along and support and build that fan base, the better.
Absolutely. Well, there's two teams in the match today, and Orient's opposition, Exeter City, are top of League One at the moment. They are a little impacted by some international call-ups. Let's take a look at Gary Caldwell's starting 11. Specifically, they are missing their number one goalkeeper, Sinisalo, who's been brilliant in the last few games, particularly helping them get a win against Burton last weekend. He's with Finland under 21s, and the right wing back, Niskanen, is also with Finland, albeit with the senior team. So Woods is in, the second choice goalkeeper for Exeter, and replacing Niskanen, very interesting to me this, number 47 there is Jake Richards. Now, Richards is 16 years old. He only turned 16 early in August. So, born in 2007, starting a league game in the third tier for a club, we should say, that has produced Ollie Watkins, Ethan Ampadu, Matt Grimes. Don't put too much pressure on a 16-year-old, do you? But it's got to be an interesting part of watching this game, you know, from a neutral's perspective anyway.
Yeah, you know, I'm just trying to think what I was doing at that age, because I certainly weren't ready to be playing in the first team in League One football. So, you know, yeah, you know, really exciting to watch and see how the young man gets on today. Unbelievable that, you know, he's someone so young, and he's obviously good enough, mature enough, and, you know, the manager has trusted him to play in the game today. Obviously, you know, you mentioned Exeter got a fantastic record of producing their own talent through their academy. It's just like a conveyor belt, you know, players over the years so many have come through, and I think they actually have a long-standing record of always featuring at least one academy product in their squad, which goes back a number of years now. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, this young man's obviously exceptionally young, and you know, we hope he enjoys a good debut today.
Yeah, one of their key performers so far this season, Alex Hartridge at the back, has been part of a brilliant defence. They've only conceded, I think, 2 goals so far in their 6 league games. He's a very established member of this team who also came through the academy. And one for Kevin to watch out for. Maybe we'll get some half-time analysis on another young player. Sonny Cox is playing up front for Exeter today. They sold their striker Sam Nombe to Rotherham right at the end of the window. And Sonny Cox is the sort of next cab off the rank, I think maybe 18 or 19 years old. So an interesting team for us to watch. Hopefully Orient will be able to get the better of them, and it does feel like a good time to play them with the goalkeeper and the right wing-back missing on international duty. Let's take a look at exactly how they've got to the top of League One early on this season, with some of the goals that they've scored early on. It was a thumping win against Wycombe Wanderers on opening day. They won this one 3-0. They were 2-0 up after about 7 minutes. It's basically the dream start to a league season, and obviously they haven't really looked back. I'll just pick out a couple more players that I haven't mentioned yet, guys, while you take this in. We're going to see a couple of nice finishes from the edge of the box from 2 of their central midfielders. One of them is Ryan Trevitt, who's on loan from Brentford B, and the other was the winning goal scored against Reading, which was scored by Reece Cole. Trevitt also scored that one there against Carlisle United. This one is the Reece Cole goal from the edge of the box, and we'll see last week's winning goal against Burton no doubt soon, which was Trevitt from range. So one thing that Orient, here we go, Trevitt's winner last week. Orient central midfield, Pratley, El Mazouni, Moncur getting back to help out as well. They have to be on top of that today.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think you can see there from those highlights that they've got goals coming from everywhere, you know, all over the pitch. You know, central midfielders chipping in, strikers, wide men. So, you know, a lot of goal threats across the team today. Particularly, you know, like you said, those 2 midfielders seem like they've got a real life for goal, and, you know, not afraid to let go from distance. Obviously, good strikers of the ball, some good finishes there. So, like you said, I think, you know, the midfield will have to be alive and aware of that. You know, those midfielders making those forward runs, you know, arriving edge of the box and wanting to get shots off something. We'll have to look out and try and stop today.
Few of the other trends, Kevin, 8 goals scored rather in League One so far this season. 6 of those have come from crosses, be that from set pieces or open play. Stevenage at Brisbane Road last Saturday scored 2 goals from set piece situations, so something clearly for Orient to really focus on today. But also 4 of Exeter's goals have come in the last 15 minutes of games. Mm-hmm. So you have to imagine that will be giving their players so much confidence at the moment.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out for me watching those clips was how many bodies they had in the box every time they scored a goal. I think majority of their goals they had at least 5 people in the box. So they're going to get chances, and then you can understand why they score from crosses and corners and free kicks, because they're obviously keen on getting a lot of bodies in the box. But from Orient's point of view, if you can defend that well, then there should be gaps to exploit, and if we catch them quickly on the break. So I think that's something that Orient can think positive of, is obviously the turnover, and when we win the ball back, is there going to be gaps in their midfield and at the back.
Exeter benefiting from some loan talent from Brentford, a club, Kevin, that you know well. I believe one of your sons is on the books there.
Yeah. One of my boys played for with Trevor last year. They won the Premiership 2, they called it last year. So they beat Fulham in the final, and Trevor was a massive part of that season. I think he got like 15 goals for them last season. So he's a real good talent, and he's got a real good eye for goal, and technically really good.
just comparing the two clubs, Joe, one obvious thing to look at is Exeter having come up the year before Leyton Orient, so this now their second season. They did pretty well to stay up last season, and clearly it looks like they're kicking on now. So a good example for a club like Orient, just promoted, to take a look at. Yeah, that's the blueprint for Orient. I'm sure they're looking to establish themselves, this season. Following the success last season, Exeter have done it. They're now an established League One team, and I'm sure Orient would kind of looking to do something similar, really, following what they've managed to do there. Are there any obvious things that you think a team and players and a set of staff need to specifically think about when moving up a division? I think of when you were at Orient, coming up from the National League to League Two. Are there any experiences you had moving up a division that you think are basically just worthy for any team to think about moving up? I think one of the key things is probably trying to keep together as much of the core of the squad that managed to get you promotion in the first place, because you've got to remember, like, in achieving a promotion, you've created a special bond and a unity and a spirit amongst those players. And if you can manage to keep that together going into the following season, you'll be surprised how, despite the jump in levels, where that can take you. I think I said it a few weeks ago. I think the fact that the club managed to keep Richie was a real key thing, because since he's come in the building, the transformation, the way the team's improved has been drastic. He's really just kind of improved every player and taken the club forward. So the fact that he stayed, obviously, they lost one or two key players, which sometimes it's inevitable when you have success. But I think they've managed to keep a good part of that group together, made some good additions. I think they were patient in the transfer market, and they really kind of waited to identify the targets they wanted. But yeah, probably just trying to keep that core group together. I think that understanding that the last season was good, but they all need to improve their levels. They all need to step it up this season. It's different challenges. I think having watched the team a few times this season, they've played some good football at times. There's been a lot of positives. Probably the main difference from this season to last is just those two boxes, that like conceding goals and scoring. You notice the difference in quality. They find it a little bit harder to score goals and a little bit harder to stop them. But the football in between is really good. So I think as soon as they kind of get those two key factors sorted, stopping goals going in and trying to find a few more at the other end, they'll be all right. Okay, kickoff is not long now. I wonder if we might just whiz through the Orient team again. I somewhat botched it early on, so apologies for that. We've got Sol Bryn in goal. We've got Tom James, Omar Beckles, Brandon Cooper starting, Theo Archibald and Jordan Graham starting, El Mizuni, Pratley, Moncur starting, and Satiriu and Pigott as well. So some changes for Richie Wellens. We wait to see if those are tactical changes as well. Kevin, any final thoughts ahead of kickoff? Any gut instincts about the game today?
Not really. I think it's one of those you wait to see how the game plans out, and I think Orient just got to be patient today. I don't think they'll go gun-ho, because this looks like a team that can catch you on the counter-attack really quickly. They look like they press really high and they look to score a lot of goals. So I think Orient have to be quite patient today.
Okay, well, I wonder if it might now be time to hand over to today's commentary team. Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock are at St James Park.
Good afternoon and welcome to Exeter, where it is 28 degrees and 22 years since the O's last won here at St James's. Surely time, Matt, to put the record straight.
Well, yeah, it's not been a happy hunting ground, has it? Let's not kid ourselves on that statistic. But look at Exeter's side this afternoon. They've lost 2 players to international duty. They've lost 3 players to injury. They've got a 16-year-old up front for them. This might be the time to hit them.
And they might have won once this season.